I'm going to be reading from the prologue of Rising Storm, pages 1 through 5. An agonized groan echoed across the moon-bleached floor of a forest clearing. Two cats crouched in the shadows under one of the bushes at the edge. One of them writhed in pain, lashing his long tail. The other cat raised himself to his paws and bowed his head. He had been a medicine cat for many long moons, and yet he could only watch helplessly as the leader of his clan was overpowered by the sickness that had already claimed so many lives. He knew of no herb that would ease the cramps and fever this sickness brought, and his patchy gray fur bristled with frustration as the leader convulsed again, and then fell exhausted into the moss-lined nest. Fearfully, the medicine cat leaned forward and sniffed. I'll let Cookie voice act this part because she's a snotty-nosed cat herself. Okay, good job, Cookie. There was still breath in his leader's body, but it was foul and shallow, and the Tom's thin flanks heaved with every gasp. Can you do some heaving and gasping, Cookie? Very nice, good job. She's turning out to be a better voice actor than I thought. Then, a screech ripped through the woods. Not a cat this time, but an owl. Does that sound like an owl, Artie? I just woke him up. The medicine cat stiffened. Owls brought death to the forest, stealing prey and even kits that strayed too far from their mothers. The medicine cat raised beseeching eyes to the sky, praying to the spirits of his warrior ancestors that the owl's call was not an ill omen. He stared through the branches that formed the roof in the den, searching the dark sky for silver pelts. But the swath of stars where StarClan lived was hidden by clouds, and the medicine cat shivered with fear. Had their warrior ancestors abandoned them to the sickness that ravaged the camp? Then the wind stirred the trees, rattling brittle leaves. High above, the clouds shifted, and a single star sent a frail beam of light through the roof of the den. In the shadows, the leader drew in a long, steady breath. Hope leaped like a fish in the medicine cat's heart. StarClan was with them after all! Weak with relief, the medicine cat lifted his chin, giving a silent thanks to his warrior ancestors for sparing the life of his leader. But as he narrowed his eyes against the shaft of starlight, he heard spirit voices murmuring deep inside his head. They whispered of glorious battles to come, of new territories, and a greater clan rising from the ashes of the old. The medicine cat felt joy surge in his chest and pulsate through his paws. This star carried much more than a message of survival. Then suddenly, without warning, a wide gray wing swept across the ray of sunlight, plunging the den into darkness. The medicine cat shrank back and pressed his belly to the floor as the owl screeched down and raked the roof of the den with its talons. That was a little scared me out from Cookie. She doesn't like this story, it's too scary. It must have smelled the sickness that weakened the leader and swooped in search of easy prey. But the branches were too thick for the owl to break through. The medicine cat listened to the slow beating of wings as the owl flew away into the forest, and then sat up, heart hammering, and searched the night sky once more. Like the owl, the star was gone. In its place was only blackness. Dread crawled beneath the medicine cat's pelt and clutched at his heart. Did you hear that? A Tom called through the entrance of the den, his voice high-pitched with alarm. The medicine cat squeezed quickly out into the clearing, knowing the clan would be waiting for an interpretation of the omen. Warriors, queens, and elders, those who knew well enough to move from their nests, huddled in the shadows on the far side of the clearing. The medicine cat paused for a moment, listening to the clan murmuring anxiously to one another. "What's an owl doing here?" hissed a mottled warrior, his eyes glinting in the darkness. "They never come so close to camp," wailed an elder. "Did it take any kits?" demanded another warrior, turning his broad head to the cat beside him. "No, Cookie, don't worry, the owl didn't take any kits." "Not this time," replied the Silver Queen. She had already lost 3 of her kits to sickness, and her voice was dull with pain. "It might come back. It must smell our weakness." "You'd think the stench of death would keep it away." A tabby warrior limped into the clearing. His paws were clotted with mud and his fur ruffled. He had been burying a clanmate. And there were more graves to be dug, but he was too weak to go on for that night. How's our leader? He asked, his voice tight with fear. We don't know, replied the mottled Tom. Where's the medicine cat? Whined the queen. Oh my goodness, Cookie is adding to the whining. Hi, Cookie. She's just trying to take a nap and she's just annoyed that I'm recording next to her. I'm sorry, Cookie. I'll be done in a second. Artie, on the other hand, is loving this story time. The cats peered around the clearing, and the medicine cat saw their frightened eyes gleaming in the dark. He could hear the panic rising in their voices, and knew that they needed to be soothed, assured that StarClan had not abandoned them completely. Taking a deep breath, the cat forced his fur to lie flat on his shoulders, and padded across the clearing. We don't need a medicine cat to tell us that the owl Screech spoke of death. How do you know? Spat a mottled warrior. Yes, agreed the queen, glancing at the elder. StarClan doesn't speak to you. She turned as the medicine cat reached them. Was the owl an omen? She mewed anxiously. Cookie's just adding some good Walla Walla back here of cats being angry. As she's throwing a little tizzy fit. She wants attention. Shifting his paws uncomfortably, the medicine cat avoided a direct reply. StarClan has spoken to me tonight, he announced. Did you see the stars shine between the clouds? The queen nodded, and around her the other cat's eyes flickered with a desperate hope. What did it mean? Asked the elder. Will our leader live? Called the tabby warrior. The medicine cat hesitated. He cannot die now, cried the queen. What about his 9 lives? StarClan granted them to him only 6 moons ago. There is only so much strength StarClan can give, answered the medicine cat. But our ancestors have not forgotten us. He went on, trying to push aside the image of the owl's dark wing as it blotted out the thin ray of light. The star brought a message of hope. A high-pitched moan sounded from a dim corner of the camp, and a tortoiseshell queen sprang up and hurried towards the sound. The others continued to stare at the medicine cat with eyes that begged for comfort. Did StarClan speak of rain? Asked a young warrior. It's been so long since it rained. It might cleanse the camp of this sickness. The medicine cat shook his head. Not of rain, but of a great new dawn that awaits our clan. In that ray of light, our warrior ancestor showed me the future, and it will be glorious. Then we'll survive? Mewed the Silver Queen. We'll do more than survive, the medicine cat promised. We shall rule the whole forest. Murmurs of relief flickered through the cats, the first purrs that had been heard in camp for nearly a moon. But the medicine cat turned his head away to hide his trembling whiskers. He prayed that his clan would not ask again about the owl. He dared not share the dreadful warning that StarClan had added when the bird's wing had obscured the star, that the clan would pay the highest possible price for their great new dawn. Wow, that was a crazy prophecy. And Running Nose was kind of keeping the truth of it to himself, because his clan was desperate for that glimmer of hope. But, as he said, that new dawn would come at a very high price. Because Nightstar isn't getting better. They're going to need a new leader. And that leader shall be Tiger Star. Dun dun dun! And if you've read up until the darkest hour, we all know how that ends. And be sure to let me know down below in the comments section what you thought of Running Nose keeping this true meaning of the prophecy a secret. Do you think it would have changed the outcome at all if he had told the clan that, yeah, something great's gonna happen, but we also need to be prepared for something real bad happening? I mean, from my perspective, I think things just had to happen the way they did. And Running Nose was put in quite the tough position. I wouldn't want to be in his boogery shoes. And the scene that my sister Rachel's going to be drawing today is of Cinderpelt secretly nursing the 6 Shadow Clan cats, Little Cloud and Whitethroat, back to health, having them stay in the Owl Tree on ThunderClan's territory, giving them herbs and prey. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on pages 128 through 153 of Rising Storm. Cinderpelt? What are you doing here? Fireheart spun around to face the medicine cat. Did you know about this? A pile of herbs lay between Cinderpelt's paws. She lifted her chin defiantly. They needed my help. There was nothing for them in their camp but sickness. So they came straight back? Fireheart glared at her angrily. Where did you find them? Near Sunning Rocks. I smelled their sickness when I was collecting herbs yesterday. They were looking for a safe place to hide, explained Cinderpelt. And you brought them here, Fireheart snorted. They probably came back into our land because they knew you'd take pity on them. Cinderpelt's concern for the Shadow Clan cats had been obvious when they were still in ThunderClan's camp. Did you think you could treat them without any cat finding out? Fireheart demanded. He couldn't believe that Cinderpelt had exposed herself, and the rest of the clan, to such a risk. Cinderpelt met his eyes, undaunted. Don't pretend you're really angry with me. You felt just as sorry for them, she reminded him. You couldn't have turned them away a second time either. Fireheart could see that she believed she had done the right thing, and he had to admit the truth in her words. He couldn't deny that he felt sorry for the sick cats, and had felt uncomfortable with Bluestar's lack of compassion. Does Yellowfang know? He asked, his anger fading. No, I don't think so, answered Cinderpelt. How sick are they? They're starting to recover. Cinderpelt allowed a hint of satisfaction to enter her voice. I still smell sickness, Fireheart meowed suspiciously. Well, they're not completely cured yet, but they will be. Little Cloud's voice rasped from the shadows behind him. We're getting better, thanks to Cinderpelt. Fireheart could hear that Little Cloud's voice was already stronger than it had been in the ThunderClan camp, and the young warrior's eyes shone brightly in the gloom. They do sound better, he admitted, turning back to the young medicine cat. How did you do it? Yellowfang seemed to think that the sickness was deadly. I must have found the right combination of herbs and berries, Cinderpelt replied happily. Fireheart noticed that she spoke with a confidence he had not heard in her for a while, and recognized the spirit of the lively, strong-willed apprentice he had once trained. Well done, he meowed. And then Fireheart reflects for a moment and is like, is this really worth the risk? What if it makes the whole clan sick? And he's like, well, maybe we should send him back, actually. And Little Cloud's like, no, please, no, don't send us back. If you send us back, we'll die. And that's when they realize that things in ShadowClan really aren't going so peachy. Fireheart frowned. Surely Nightstar has plenty of lives left. You haven't seen how ill he is, cried Whitethroat. The clan is scared. There's no cat ready to take his place. What about Cinderfur, your deputy? Asked Fireheart. The two ShadowClan cats looked away and didn't answer. Did that mean that Cinderfur had died already? Or that he was just too old to become leader? Like Nightstar, Cinderfur had already been an elder when Brokenstar had been driven out. Fireheart felt his sympathy winning in spite of his better judgment. Okay, he sighed reluctantly. You can stay here until you're strong enough to travel. Thank you, Fireheart, Little Cloud meowed wheezily. His eyes glimmered with gratitude, and Fireheart dipped his head, realizing how hard it must be for these proud ShadowClan warriors to admit that they were dependent on another clan. He turned away and padded past Cinderpelt. She whispered as he passed, Thanks, Fireheart. I knew you would understand why I took them in. I couldn't let them die, even if they were from another clan. Fireheart knew she was thinking of Silverstream, the River Clan queen who she'd not been able to save. He licked her ear affectionately. You are a true medicine cat, he purred. That's why Yellowfang chose you as her apprentice. That's pretty nice of Cinderpelt. And her kind actions actually inspire Little Cloud to become ShadowClan's medicine cat one day. So I think that's super cool. Anyways, so helping the ShadowClan cats kind of gives Cinderpelt back her confidence and healing that she lost when Silverstream died. I'd love to hear in the comment section down below what you think of Cinderpelt choosing to help these poor ShadowClan cats. Because sending them back to ShadowClan really would have been like a death sentence. Because the clan was so racked with sickness from that terrible disease from the rats at the Carrion place. So I think she made the right choice in helping them. It really showed Cinderpelt's compassion and love for healing beyond clan rivalries and borders. And the scene that my sister Rachel's gonna be drawing today is for all you Fireheart and Cinderpelt shippers out there, of when Cinderpelt almost confesses her feelings for her former mentor. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on pages 153 through 155 of Rising Storm.
I think the Shadow Clan cats have to leave.
Cinderpelt opened her eyes fully for the first time. But you said they could stay until they were completely better. She reminded him. Have you changed your mind because of this dream?
Spotted Leaf has been right before,
Fireheart answered.
I can't take the risk of letting them stay.
Cinderpelt stared wordlessly at him for a moment, and then meowed. Let me speak to them.
Fireheart nodded. But you must do it tomorrow, he insisted.
Cinderpelt rested her chin on her front paws. I'll tell them, she promised. But what if your dream was wrong? If Shadow Clan is so riddled with sickness as they say it is, you could be sending these cats to their deaths.
Fireheart felt his breath catch in his chest, but he knew he had to protect his clan. You can show them how to make the healing mixture, can't you? He suggested.
Cinderpelt nodded.
Okay, Fireheart went on. If you do that, then they'll be able to take care of themselves and maybe even help their clanmates. The thought that he was not totally abandoning the desperate Shadow Clan cats came as a relief, but he still felt that he needed to explain why he was turning them away. Cinderpelt, I have to listen to Spotted Leaf. A hard lump of sadness choked him into silence. The scent of the ferns around him made the memory of the medicine cat even sharper, for this was where she had lived and worked.
You talk about her as if she's still alive, murmured Cinderpelt, closing her eyes. Why can't you let her rest with StarClan? I know she was special to you, but remember what Yellowfang said to me when I couldn't stop thinking about Silverstream? Put your energy into today. Stop worrying about the past.
What's wrong with remembering Spotted Leaf? Fireheart protested.
Because while you're dreaming about her, there's another cat, a living one, right under your nose, whom you should be thinking about instead.
Fireheart stared at Cinderpelt, puzzled. What are you talking about?
Haven't you noticed?
Noticed what?
But then she realized Fireheart's cluelessness, and that he didn't feel the same way about her. He just saw her as a friend that he could confide in, nothing more. So she course-corrected, turning his attention towards Sandstorm, someone she knew he could love. Cinderpelt opened her eyes and lifted her head. Fireheart, every cat in the clan can see that Sandstorm is very fond of you.
Fireheart felt a hot flush spread through his fur, and he started to protest.
But Cinderpelt ignored him. No, go away and let me rest, she muttered, resting her chin on her paws once more. I'll tell Little Cloud and Whitethroat to leave tomorrow, I promise. Now, I doubt Fireheart would have become Cinderpelt's mate even if she hadn't had her accident, but I think it's possible that she did have a crush on him. I'd love to hear in the comment section what you think about this ship. Hey there, cat lovers! Today is day 7 of Yellowfang's week, and the scene that my sister Rachel's going to be drawing today is her death scene. Out in a puff of smoke. Well, kinda. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on pages 250 through 252 and 278 through 283 of Rising Storm. Okay, so this scene is just as the fire is starting and all the cats have evacuated, at least they think they all have, and then Goldenflower is like, where's my child? And Fireheart's like, I'll go and save him, but I need someone to come with me. And first Cinderpelt is like, I'll go, but Yellowfang's like, no, you stay, I will go. And she sacrifices herself to go off and help Fireheart go into the burning building. Quite literally, the camp is burning. So I'll read this scene now. Fireheart saw the shape of Halftail, slumped below a branch. Patchpelt lay beside him, his jaws buried in Halftail's scruff, as if he'd been trying to drag his friend to safety when he collapsed. Fireheart stopped in dismay. Yellowfang had already rushed past him and had begun dragging Halftail's body towards the camp entrance. Don't just stand there, she growled through a mouthful of fur. Help me get them out of here! So Fireheart goes for Patchpelt, and then he notices that there is Bramblekit up in the tree, being roasted like a marshmallow. So he realizes he has to go and save Bramblekit at the expense of Yellowfang, unfortunately. So if you guys want to check out the rest of my reading of this scene, I read it in day 1 of Bramble Stars Week. So go and check that out, I'll have it linked down below. But skipping forward a few pages, Fireheart jumps down from the tree with Bramblekit in his jaws, and the tree cracks beneath him and falls, flaming branches and all, on top of Yellowfang.
Behind him, a loud crack split the air. Fireheart landed with a thud that almost knocked the breath out of him. Scrambling to find a clawhold on the side of the ravine, he twisted his head around. To his horror, he saw that the fire had burned right through the trunk, sending the whole tree toppling onto the ravine. Alive with flame, the tree crashed away from the terrified cat, heading to the entrance to the camp beyond the wall of the burning branches. There was no way Fireheart could reach Yellowfang now.
Oh no, not Yellowfang! And then somehow, magically, Yellowfang stays alive for the next 20 pages for Fireheart to somehow make his way to her after going back to the camp and spending quite a long time there. He's like, oh yeah, I should probably go back and see where Yellowfang is, and thankfully she's still alive in time to say her parting goodbyes. Convenient? I think so.
Fireheart rushed down the slope, sending Grit and Ash crumbling ahead of him. The tree where he had saved Goldenflower's kid was nothing but a heap of charred sticks now. He leaped over it easily. He searched for the gorse tunnel that had once led into the clearing, but only a tangle of blackened stems remained. He picked his way through and hurried into the smoke-stained clearing. As he stared around, his heart pounding, he felt Greystripe nudge him. He followed the Grey Warrior's gaze to where Halftail's scorched body lay, to what used to be the entrance to Yellowfang's fern tunnel. Medicine Cat must have tried to get the unconscious elder back into the safety of camp, hoping that perhaps the cracked rock where she had made her den would protect them from the flames. Fireheart started towards the burnt shape, but Greystripe meowed, "I'll bury Halftail. You look for Yellowfang." He picked up the limp brown body and started to drag it out of the camp towards the burial place. Fireheart watched him go, his heart frozen with dread. He knew why he had come back to the camp, but his legs were suddenly too weak to move. He forced himself to walk over the burned stumps that lined the path to Yellowfang's clearing. There was no sheltering green tunnel now. The Medicine Cat's home was open to the sky, and the only sound was the relentless patter of raindrops on the slimy ground. Yellowfang! He called, his voice hoarse, as he padded into the clearing. The rock where the Medicine Cat had made her den was black with soot, mingled with the smell of ash. Fireheart detected the familiar scent of the old Medicine Cat. Yellowfang! He called again. A low, rasping mew answered him from inside the rock. She was alive. Shaking with relief, Fireheart squeezed into the shadowy cave. There was barely enough light to see. Fireheart had never been in here before, and he paused for a moment, blinking as his eyes adjusted to the gloom. At the foot of one wall was a row of herbs and berries, stained by smoke, but unburnt. Then he glimpsed a pair of eyes shining at him from the far end of the narrow cavern. Yellowfang! Fireheart rushed to the Medicine Cat's side. She lay with her legs crumpled beneath her, soot-covered and wheezing, too weak to move. She could barely hold his gaze, and when she spoke, her voice was breathless and feeble. Fireheart, she croaked. I'm glad it's you who came. I shouldn't have left you here. Fireheart pressed his muzzle against her fur. I'm so sorry. Did you save Patchpelt? Fireheart shook his head hopelessly. He had breathed in too much smoke. Halftail too, rasped Yellowfang. Fireheart saw her eyelids quiver and begin to close. He meowed desperately. But we saved Goldenflower's kid. Which one was it? Yellowfang murmured. Bramblekit. He watched as Yellowfang closed her eyes briefly, and his blood ran cold. Now Yellowfang knew that she had risked her life to save Tigerclaws. Had StarClan shared something with her? Something she feared enough to wish the kid had not survived? You're a brave warrior, Fireheart. Yellowfang suddenly opened her eyes wide and stared fiercely at him. I could not be prouder of you if you were my own son. And StarClan knows how many times I wished that you were, instead of
She drew a shallow, grating breath.
And Fireheart knew that every word stuck thorn sharp in her throat.
Broken tail.
Fireheart flinched as the old medicine cat revealed her terrible secret. That Shadow Clan's brutal leader had been her son, given up at birth because medicine cats were not allowed to have children. Who knew what agonies Yellowfang had endured as she watched her own son kill his own father to become leader, and then destroy her clan with his bloodthirsty ambitions.
I killed him. I poisoned him. I wanted him to die.
Her rasping admission collapsed into painful coughing. Hush. Save your strength, Fireheart urged. He knew all this too. He had watched hidden as she fed Broken Tail the poisonous berries, after the traitorous cat had helped Tiger Claw's rogues attack ThunderClan. He had witnessed the cruel warrior die at his mother's paws, and had heard Yellowfang give away her real relationship with the heartless Tom. Let me fetch you some water, he offered.
Yellowfang shook her head slowly. Water's no use to me now, she croaked. I want to tell you everything before
You're not going to die, Fireheart gasped, feeling a shard of ice prick his heart. Tell me what I can do to help you!
Don't waste your time! Yellowfang coughed angrily. I'm going to die whatever you do, but I'm not afraid. Just listen to me.
Fireheart wanted to beg her to be silent, to save her breath so she could live a few moments longer. But he respected her enough to obey her, even now.
I wish you had been my son, but I could not have borne a cat like you. StarClan gave Broken Tail to me to teach me a lesson.
What did you need to learn? Fireheart protested. You're as wise as Blue Star herself.
I killed my own son.
He deserved it!
I was his mother, whispered Yellowfang. StarClan may judge me as they will. I am ready.
Unable to answer, Fireheart dipped his head and began to frantically lick her fur, as if his love for this old she-cat was enough to hold her in the forest a while longer.
Fireheart, Yellowfang murmured.
Fireheart paused. Yes?
Thank you for bringing me to ThunderClan. Tell Blue Star that I've always been grateful for the home she gave me. This is a good place to die. I only regret that I will miss watching you become what StarClan has destined you to be.
The old medicine cat's voice trailed away, and her flanks heaved with the effort of sucking air into her smoke-scorched lungs. Yellowfang! Fireheart pleaded. Don't die! Her painful breathing clawed at his heart, and he realized that there was nothing he could do. Don't be afraid of StarClan. They will understand about Broken Tail, he promised wretchedly. You will be honored by our warrior ancestors for your loyalty to your clanmates and for your endless courage. So many cats owe their lives to you. Cinderpelt would have died after her accident if you had not tended to her. And when there was green cough, you fought day and night. Fireheart could not stop the words from tumbling out, even though he knew that the old medicine cat's breathing had faded into everlasting silence. Yellowfang was dead. This scene is so sad. Yellowfang really was like a second mom to Fireheart, since he hardly knew his real mother, Nutmeg, because he had to leave when he was just a kitten. So yeah, apprentice and on, Yellowfang pretty much raised Fireheart. It's sad that Yellowfang had to have such a rotten kid of her own, like Broken Star. I really do wish that we could have seen her raise more than one kid. I think her daughter's Wish Kit and Hope Kit would have been so cool. They probably would have been some of our legendary Shadow Clan warriors, like, Tawny Pelt or something. I'd like for you guys to help me out in the comment section down below and come up with some warriors' names for Wish Kit and Hope Kit. Anyways, so yeah, Yellowfang's life had a lot of ups and downs, and she lived to be about 7 years old, which is not too terribly old. About 64 in human years for an outdoor cat, but I wonder if she outlived her mom and dad, because when she was exiled in Yellowfang's secret, they were still living. and still having new kits of their own. I don't know, go look it up and see what becomes of Brackenfoot and Brightflower. And I'm also interested to see what happened to her siblings Nutwhisker and Rowanberry. I think it's weird that Yellowfang aged so much quicker than any other character that was born around the same time period as her. Maybe it's just her personality, but it seems like she turned into a crotchety old lady by about the age of 3. Anyways, I'd love to hear in the comment section down below some of your favorite moments from Yellowfang's life, and some reasons why you loved her character. I'll be starting Cinderpelt's week soon, so if you want to leave some ideas for her week, comment them down below. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's drawing and theory. Make sure to check out the video on the side of our last speed paint. And click that subscribe button and little bell icon so that you can always be notified when we upload, so that you can be part of #EarlyClan. Down below in the description will be links to our eBay and Etsy stores, where cool merch items are available for purchase. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you soon for the next speed paint. Bye-bye! The scene that my sister Rachel's going to be drawing today is of Bluestar bitterly declaring war on StarClan, after ThunderClan's territory was burnt to the ground. I'll read this scene to you now. It's on pages 289 through 291 of Rising Storm. The clan paused on the shore and stared in silent horror at the forest. Even in the faint moonlight, the devastation was obvious. The trees stripped bare, the musty fragrances of the leaves and ferns replaced by the bitter stench of burned wood and scorched earth. "It's like being somewhere else," whispered Sandstorm, and Fireheart nodded in agreement. The ravine lay like an open wound on the landscape. Sandstorm stopped and peered over the edge, and Fireheart could see her trembling. He was shivering too, even though his fur had already dried from the river crossing. The clan filed slowly down the steep slope and followed Bluestar into the camp. Inside the clearing, the cats gazed silently around the stripped, blackened space that had once been their home. "Take me to Yellowfang's body!" Bluestar meowed sharply at Fireheart, cracking the silence. Fireheart's fur bristled. This wasn't the weak shell of a leader that he had struggled to protect in recent moons, nor was it the wise and gentle leader who had welcomed him into the clan and had been his mentor. He began to pad towards Yellowfang's clearing, and Bluestar followed. A chilling wail echoed from Yellowfang's den, and Bluestar staggered out, twisting her head wildly and glaring at the blackened trees. How could StarClan do this? Have they no pity? I will never go to the Moonstone again. From now on, my dreams are my own. StarClan has declared war on my clan, and I will never forgive them. And Bluestar pretty much stays true to her promise of not forgiving StarClan. And her departure from StarClan leads ThunderClan down a dangerous path. Get my pun? Because that's the next book. Anyways, I'd love to hear in the comment section down below what you think about Bluestar declaring war on StarClan. Was it justified for her to stop listening to her starry ancestors? Or was it just her trying to find someone to blame for the terribleness of the situation? And for this one, we're going to be at The Gathering, seeing something very new and suspicious. A new leader of ShadowClan? Oh no, but Nightpelt, he was just leader. He hardly was leader for even a book or two. That's really sad. I guess that's what happens when you don't get your full 9 lives. Anyway, so in this scene, we're going to be seeing ShadowClan's new leader, and you'll just have to wait and see who that is. So let me read you this scene. It's on pages 312 through 315 of Rising Storm. Fireheart followed his gaze to the slope on the other side of the valley. 3 ShadowClan cats were charging into the clearing, Running Nose at the head. Fireheart felt a glimmer of relief as he recognized 2 of the warriors beside the gray and white medicine cat. One was Little Cloud, clearly recovered from the sickness, thanks to Cinderpelt. The other clan cats backed away from the ShadowClan warriors as they skidded to a halt in front of the Great Rock. News of their disease had obviously spread through the forest. It's all right, Running Nose meowed, panting, as if he could read their minds. ShadowClan is free of the sickness. I have been sent ahead to tell you to wait before you begin the meeting. ShadowClan's leader is on his way. What makes Nightstar so late? Called Tallstar from Fireheart's side. Nightstar is dead, answered Running Nose bluntly. A stunned ripple spread through the other cats like a breeze through the trees, and Fireheart blinked. How could the Shadow Clan leader be dead? He had only recently received his 9 lives. What a terrible sickness! No wonder Little Cloud and Whitethroat had been so afraid to return to their camp. Is Cinderfur coming instead? Whitestorm called, referring to the Shadow Clan deputy. Running Nose looked at his paws. Cinderfur was one of the first to die from the sickness. Then who is your new leader? Demanded Crooked Star, emerging from the shadows on the other side of the Great Rock. Running Nose glanced at the River Clan leader. You'll see for yourself soon enough, he promised. He'll be here shortly. And that's when Fireheart breaks apart from the other cats to go and tell Running Nose that his mentor, Yellowfang, perished in the fire. That's a very sweet scene, but we didn't draw something related to that, so I'll just be pressing forward now. We can't wait any longer! Fireheart heard a River Clan warrior mutter to their neighbor. The moon will be setting soon. If this new leader is going to be late, then that's his problem, Mousefur agreed. Fireheart knew the real reason for her keenness to get on with the meeting and return to camp. With Tiger Claw loose in the forest, none of the clans were safe. He saw a flash of white fur at the center of the clearing, as Tallstar leaped onto the Great Rock. He had obviously decided to start the meeting without Shadow Clan's leader. Fireheart braced himself, ready for his first gathering at the head of his clan, and desperate to warn the other cats about the threat that lurked in the woods. Good luck! Fireheart felt Sandstorm's breath ruffle his ear fur. Fireheart turned and gently touched her warm cheek with his muzzle. Then he threaded his way through the other cats towards the Great Rock. He was stopped in his tracks by a yowl called from the slope behind him. He's here! Fireheart turned and saw Darkstripe craning his neck beside him, but their view was blocked by other cats peering and rearing up on their hind legs to get a look at Shadow Clan's new leader as he passed through the crowd. Darkstripe's ears suddenly pricked with surprise. The striped warrior was staring up at the Great Rock, his eyes glittering, barely suppressing his excitement. Fireheart twisted his head to see what had prompted such a reaction from his clanmate. Framed by the cold light of the moon, Fireheart saw the powerful shoulders and broad head of a cat who had leaped onto the rock beside Tallstar. The other leader seemed puny and frail beside this massive figure. And with a cold shiver of dread, Fireheart realized that the new leader of Shadow Clan was Tiger Claw. Oh no! Not Tiger Claw! That is honestly one of the best, cliffhangers in these books. When Tiger Claw becomes the new leader of Shadow Clan, you're just like, what? That's crazy! Why would Running Nose let Tiger Claw become the next leader of Shadow Clan? Well, if you guys read Tiger Claw's Fury or check out some of Nightstar's speed paints, you might get your answer to that. I'll leave a link to some of those down below. But Tiger Claw was really persuasive and helpful when Shadow Clan was experiencing a lot of sickness by catching prey for them and making himself super useful to their clan. And if you remember the previous day of Running Nose where he had the prophecy about the owl, that was about Tiger Claw, future leader of Shadow Clan. You gotta admit, Tiger Claw does bring a lot of strength to Shadow Clan, but ultimately, we all know how that ends. Not well. Poor Shadow Clan, always one thread away from completely falling off the face of the planet and not really being a clan anymore. In future books, characters like Darktail really threaten Shadow Clan's existence. But let me know what you guys think about Running Nose and what he might be thinking in this moment. Do you think he made the right choice in letting Tiger Claw become the next leader of Shadow Clan? Or do you think he should have turned to another cat? Was Tiger Claw the only option for Shadow Clan survival? I don't know, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know down below in the comments.